This is Luca Majno here with Frank Gregory Ford. This is Global News Update on TLBTV, where we bring you complete, backstage, up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. And also, I should add why they happen, because it's so cool to go backwards to find out what's going on. That way we can better understand today. Greg, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, Luca. Like I say, broadcasting from the ocean. And you know how the ocean is. It tends to put a zap on your head. So
Yeah.
I'm relaxed, ready to go for this show. So thank you for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure. And I think we're going to try sharing screens again.
All right.
And I wanted to start Snapshot with this one, because I said to myself, like, let's talk for the people for a minute. People don't want wars, right? Tom, Dick, and Harry
That's right.
Don't want wars. Who wants wars? Politicians, bankers, and corporations do. So
all the people that don't fight them,
right.
want wars.
Let's have a look. This is a really good example of a good picture to follow in that vein. The bankers want war, okay? So they can lend money and interest to governments on both sides. Defense contractors want war so that they can sell their military products to governments on both sides. Governments want war so the bankers and the corporations keep them employed and in power. Wars are big business. And if you look at this very closely, like one picture after another, you can really see the detail, can't you? You just love it. They're all lined up for gravy, eh?
Now, the fellow on the left-hand side, if you go back, okay, he's the president of Goldman Sachs, and he's also responsible for repossessing at least 35,000 homes from veterans who were actually in the Gulf War fighting.
There you go.
All right? When they were fighting, he was repossessing their homes, okay? That's what kind of people we have starting wars, right there.
Right. International community, you can take your pick. You can get to know them, all their names, if you want. You can get to know the weapons that they make and who made them.
Oh, Khaki. Sure, right? I know Khaki. Khaki actually invited me to join him.
So, these are in particular the pictures that are on the poster. So I really wanted to look at them closely. And again, we come to the conclusion that people don't want wars. Politicians, bankers, and corporations do. I like this one. The one who derives advantage from the crime is the one most likely to have committed it. How's your Latin? Right?
Cui prodest scilos. Okay.
What the government is good at is collecting taxes, taking away your freedoms, and killing people. It's not good at much else. Thank you, Tom.
Boy, that's surprising coming from Tom Clancy.
Really? Yeah. And see, with all that, we tend to start being able to see. I love this image, because it really tells me how I was when I woke up. You barely start to see and you don't understand. Look at this, Greg. No woman shall have the legal right to bear a child, and no man shall have the right to become a father without a permit.
Margaret Sanger.
Without a permit.
Okay. Goodness.
These are all things for us to think about. The most alarming for me, and the one I'm going to keep repeating.
Oh, I like this one. By the way, I've got a show coming up on Kevin Barrett, and this is exactly what we're going to be speaking about right here.
Okay. This is my gold mine, because this fell in my lap one day when I was going through different files, and it just hit me. If we can wrap our head around this is when the work only begins. Okay, when you can figure out that every single terrorist attack in the U.S. was a false flag attack. Okay, Waco, Boston bombing, Sandy Hook. I got a picture of a few of them. And look at this. I just had to really zoom in on this for a while.
Luca, keep that picture on for a second. I'm going to be speaking about this specific example right here of what this all means. And by the way, Timothy McVeigh and I attended the same schools for explosives.
Yeah.
Funny thing, all right, about this is Timothy McVeigh was given credit for that. Now I am under the impression that strike right there, that's the Murrow building in Oklahoma City. That was designed to show what type of explosives do what. You know, half that building was cut in half by heat shear from that specific truck bomb that was made. Okay. Now that was not ammonium nitrate like the federal government has been telling you. Okay. No, that was made. That was a very specific inert gas bomb designed to cut that building in half. And what it would do, it would give the people that were planning the 9/11 attack at the WTC a little more wherewithal, okay, to understand what they needed to do to cut that suspension and that structure internally of the WTC. Okay, that's a perfect example right there. That was a case study. That wasn't a terrorist attack. And by the way, everybody says, well, Timothy McVeigh was executed, right? Oh, was he? Funny. Where I was attending this school, this course on explosives, ordnance, demolitions, and booby traps. All right. Funny thing was the federal agents that were there didn't seem to know what was taught at the school. They wanted to know what was taught to Timothy McVeigh. And I'll bet my bottom dollar Timothy McVeigh was working for somebody else. And all we know is that he was supposedly executed. After all this nonsense I've seen about Kennedy, about the WTC, I'll say right now, it's a good bet he wasn't executed. Even though he had witnesses, he wasn't executed. And this was just a basic test bed for a dry run on the World Trade Center right there.
Yeah. And what really pisses me off is how they melt your heart with images like this.
Right.
So, I mean, then we have San Bernardino that got pretty interesting, which we don't have to spend too much time on. December 7th, 1941.
Yes.
Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Okay. And of course I had to throw this in for Greg. I had to throw in the USS Liberty. These are all false flags. And all you have to do is go and find out the truth on them. And even put the video on pause if you want. But as we start to see better and to take the veil off from our eyes, I can honestly say that I have absolutely no desire to fit in, Greg. Absolutely none. So instead, what I'm going to do is this. Climb the mountain and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness unto you or into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. That's my favorite from John Muir. So
yes, a good California boy there. By the way, I am going to name my book Grand Old Cannibals.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, think about that. What do we know? What party do we know as the Grand Old Party?
Oh.
Okay, and who is responsible for starting more wars and eating our own children and eating our society and for profit, of course. All right.
Yeah.
All right. The Grand Old Party itself. So, and I just found out recently, they even destroyed Amelia Earhart when she was flying around the world, and they've let the American public believe that she just disappeared. She was actually taken prisoner in Saipan, okay, in the South Pacific, in Saipan. The Japanese had her prisoner, but the American intelligence, electronic intelligence intercept, did not want to let the Japanese know that they had broken their codes, and which they would have if they had notified them, okay, that they wanted her back.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, the irony to that, and I bring this up, is there's a couple of real ironies to this story, is the fact that this happened 6 years before World War II, Pearl Harbor started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the irony about this is, guess what? Our government knew well in advance that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. Does that sound familiar? Is this deja vu?
6
George
weeks.
H.W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here's another irony is the intercepts, electronic intercepting group, okay, the Black Department X, okay, that was started by the Averell Harriman and the Brown group, Harriman and Brown,
Mm-hmm.
and guess who? Prescott Bush. Who else? Only another monstrous criminal mind could think of something like that. And yes, and they specifically allowed the Pearl Harbor to happen with 3,000 dead. What is it about the number 3,000? Okay, mm-hmm. How many died in the World Trade Center? 3,000. And wasn't it Cheney who was calling the World Trade Center, okay, bombing another Pearl Harbor? That's what this country needs, is another Pearl Harbor. Okay, yes, right.
FDR was a Rothschild Zionist.
And by the way, I'm a little confused. The Rothschilds are German. Okay, what is this about them being French? Okay, all right. You know, it kind of puts off everything, you know, that you hear about them. No, they were all, the family started in Frankfurt, Germany, in the Jewish ghetto. All right. Now, how is that? How did we get to this point to where we perceived, and we've been taught to perceive, the Rothschild banking conglomerate as French? Okay. No, who was it? Who was behind the Nazi buildup, the Nazi arms industry? Didn't the Nazi the German war industry own? Didn't the German industry own 40% of U.S. heavy industry, steel, okay, production and so forth? Yes, that's the deal. All right. So I'm suspicious about this whole thing about World War II now. Mm-hmm. Funny, I've been proven right every single time. Okay, so I'm suspicious now about the causes of World War II, and I'm also I'm definitely on about 9/11, which has been the cause of several wars now that America is involved in.
Greg,
12 to be exact.
Isn't there a saying that says the truth doesn't fear investigation, right? So if you have nothing to hide, then why make laws that forbid speaking or discussing or, you know, having anything to do with the Holocaust? They have laws against speaking about it. They have laws against, you know, publicizing your findings. You'd think that was the first dinner bell that would ring, you know?
Well, by the way, I just heard yesterday that Jesse Ventura is going to run for president.
I heard that too.
And one of the first things he is going to do is he is going to order an investigation into the WTC and 9/11. Okay? What have I been saying all along? No more wars until we get some truth. Right, Mr. Bush? Right. Wasn't it Mr. George H.W. Bush who said the American people would lynch us from the nearest lamppost if they knew what we were doing? All right. Well, what is it you've been doing, Mr. Bush? You and that imbecile son of yours. Okay. What is it you've been doing? Well, I think we ought to look a little more closely, because I think there's a real powerful connection between dear old dad, Prescott, and the Watergate travesty, the assassination of JFK, and the 9/11 WTC disaster. All right. I suspect, and by the way, this is a little minor, but we'll add this to it. My discovery of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, okay, with the bills of lading and shipment strapped to each case, each single weapons nerve gas case, VX gas, that's correct. And yes, funny thing, they all said, yes, reconfigured in Fort Rucker, Alabama, and shipped to Saddam Hussein via the U.S. Navy. Okay, we're talking a lot of people here involved in shipping weapons mass destruction, okay? And on court documents, as our folks will see, you will see that the unit, which I discovered, okay, which was my command, stating very clearly, no, never happened, ha ha, laugh, laugh, okay, this thing will never go to court, so we don't have to tell the truth about anything. That is my unit, the 205th Military Intelligence Unit, who is denying the existence of weapons of mass destruction. And by the way, we're coming up on the third year that James Woolsey, the former director of the CIA, okay, Central Intelligence Agency, has stated, and he always does it on my birthday, October 8th, he has stated, yes, there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and we have been paying the Iraqis back for those weapons because they paid us for them, okay? And yes, we are now paying the Iraqis back for those weapons of mass destruction. Funny how that keeps getting denied. Even at ground zero, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq was denied by our government, okay? So I think we have a real issue here, and thank God Jesse Ventura is running, all right, and running for president, and I think we ought to have a new moratorium on all wars for the next 3 years so we can figure out, everyone can figure out exactly what rogue element gave us a false flag operation in New York City that caused the death of 3,000 people, and was there a rogue element in the United States that gave us World War II and Pearl Harbor? Anybody want to place a bet that it was our own people? Anybody want to place a bet that it was the Bush crime family directly involved? Okay, anybody want to call in and bet on that? I'll bet a year's salary. How's that? I'll put my money where my mouth is. All right. So there we have it. That's what I have for today, Luca. And
that's pretty well, it makes you sick to your stomach when you think of all that. But just remember that quote that I left you with my last snapshot image. People are going to have the choice, like they do every morning when they get up, to do good or evil. And what we want to do is spread the truth. And thank you for being on the show, Greg.
Well, I know I'm sounding like a redundant, broken record, but I want people to wake up. We are going into another war here. Okay, we've got a snake oil salesman, pedophile calling the shots for America. How did this happen? All right, we almost ended up with the lying, thieving pedophile. Okay, by the name of Hillary Clinton. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah, I can go on. Okay. But a lying, thieving pedophile, okay, who actually set up Benghazi, caused the death of how many people in Benghazi, okay? We're getting them going. And there's people in the United States that are thinking it was a tragedy she didn't get elected, okay?
Absolutely. Okay. Crying your eyes out. Oh my God, I can't believe she. Yeah, I remember saying that.
Say what? I mean, what is this? A result of what is this? Seeding the clouds, or what do they call that?
Yeah.
Jet trails, contrails. Is that a result? Is that what it does to people? Makes them insane, clinically insane. Okay. So here the deal is that Jesse Ventura is running. And I'd like to see Trey Gowdy also run. Okay, for either vice president or, you know, something, okay? But Jesse Ventura, okay, is going to run, and we better get him in, okay? We can't take any more of this craziness, this stupidity, this, you know, this
Vote for the Bull Moose Party.
bull moose. You got it. Bull Moose Party.
We'll see you next time, Greg. Thank you.
Hey, and have everybody spread the word. Jesse Ventura for president. Everybody listen to the show. Jesse Ventura for president. You got it. All right. Thank you so much, Luca.
Okay.
And thank you to our listeners.